Hello everyone, welcome to the course of HVAC Heating, Ventilation, Air Conditioning. This course belongs to final year students of undergraduate program. About the introduction to this course basically belongs to the student who seek to join industry in field of refrigeration and air conditioning. Now, in air conditioning field or refrigeration field, students should know the basics as well as the advanced part and how the function of air conditioning is going on, what are the new uh, development in the field of HVAC, or you can say heating, ventilation, air conditioning. So that why this course is introduced in final year. So before knowing the course or joining this course, students should understand the basics of refrigeration and air conditioning, or I suggest students should know what the students should complete the course of refrigeration and air conditioning. Talking about this particular session, in this session we cover course objective, then after course outcomes of this course, as well as the content of this course as a syllabus, what we are going to cover in this complete course. Now talking about myself, I am Ankit Kumar Mishra, having an experience of 7 years. I am an assistant professor in Sandeep Institute of Engineering and Management, Department of Mechanical Engineering. I am completed my MTech in thermal and fluid system. I am expert in thermal system. So this particular subject belongs to the thermal system. That's why I am going to take this course. I am having an experience of 7 years in teaching field. Let's start the course. The first section is course objective. Now talking about course objective, this particular course have six objective. The first objective is that students should know or understand the recent vapor compression cycle. All you understand what is vapor compression cycle in refrigeration and air conditioning, but here you should know what are the recent in vapor compression cycle and what are the new vapor compression cycle. Or new means what are the different cycle where vapor compression cycle could be utilized or is utilized. Second course objective is student have a knowledge of how to analyze the thermal system or thermal design of a refrigeration component. Now you know in vapor compressor cycle we have four major component, that is compressor, condenser, expansion device and evaporator. Now we are going to analyze each component in course objective 2. Now third objective is student have a practical aspect of vapor compression cycle. That means where the vapor compression cycle could be applied or how it could be added with some another cycle, and how the advantage of vapor compression cycle could be utilized by the student. So next course objective number 4 is to provide the knowledge of basic concept of ventilation, infiltration and space distribution techniques. Now student having an idea of ventilation, what is infiltration and how that thing affect the system, or how to counter or how to calculate the ventilation load or infiltration load, how to provide a correct way, how to distribute the air in a correct way in a space. Now next is to inculcate technique of estimating building envelope load. That means in this students should able to calculate the each part of the load, how the solar gain, what are the effect of solar gain, what are the effect of walls, how we should construct a building so that there will be beneficial in terms of air conditioning. The major thing that we have to understand, there should be energy conservation in particular course objective. So students should always approach how to save the energy. To know that, students should have a knowledge of uh, building envelope or estimating the load calculation in building envelope. Now talking about last objective, students should working on non-conventional air conditioning system. There are many air conditioning system that work on a low grade energy, or somehow say that how to reduce the load of conventional energy, conventional air conditioning system, how to decrease its load without changing the capacity. So that we are going to see in these course objectives. Next is course outcome. Now at the end of this course, student should be able to determine the performance parameter of transcritical and ejector refrigeration system. Now we will see what is the transcritical system and what is the ejector refrigeration system, and after completing this course you are able to uh, define or determine the performance parameter of this particular cycle. Talking about course outcome number 2, students are able to estimate the performance of compressor, evaporator, condenser and cooling tower. As I say, there are four basic components of vapor compression cycle that are compressor, evaporator, condenser, expansion device. Now here we will see that how cooling tower is going to combine in this particular cycle, and student should able to estimate its performance. Talking about course outcome number 3, now course outcome number 3 describe the refrigerant piping design. Now in piping design, students are always looking for capacity and safety control. So at the end of this course, student can describe what is the refrigerant piping design, what is the capacity and safety control, as well as the balancing is very important. The system should be balanced. So the how to describe the balancing of vapor compression system, students should understand, or the students should be able to describe it. Course outcome number 4, talking about course outcome number 4, students should be able to explain the importance of indoor and outdoor design condition. Now how indoor design condition, what are preferable indoor design condition for that particular area, or if you are going to install some air conditioning system in uh, somehow say different places in Rajasthan, or you can say it is if you have to install the refrigeration air conditioning system in Mumbai, what should be the indoor criteria for a comfortness of that particular region. And students will also know the what is the outdoor design condition. As we know that outdoor design condition varies from place to place, it depends on very different parameters. So these are the things that students should explain. Students should explain IAQ. IAQ means internal air quality, inside air quality. Now students should able to describe what is inside air quality, how much contaminants should be there, or what are the preferable or permitted level of this air. Students should able to explain the ventilation and air distribution system. So these are the things that we will see in this particular course. At the end of this course, students are also able to explain or estimate heat transmitter transmission through building wall using CLTD and decrement factor and time lag method. Now what is CLTD? This is a method how to this is an empirical method. This is an empirical method through which students should able to calculate the transmission or the heat load inside a heat load through a wall, fenestration and etc. So the full form of this CLTT is cooling load time temperature difference method. And then there is one another empirical method known as a decrement factor and time lag method, through which also we will students should see how to analyze the system or estimate the heat transfer. Next is course outcome is students should explain working of type of desiccants. Now desiccants is a substance which can absorb moisture content. Now how to use that substance in field of air conditioning, that students should able to explain. Students should be able to explain what is evaporative cooler, what is evaporative thermal system, or students should be able to explain the thermal storage, radiant cooling, clean room, and heat pump air conditioning. These are the things that students should be able to explain at the end of this course. Now coming to the part of syllabus, what we are going to cover in this entire uh, course. The entire course is divided into 6 particular unit number 1 to unit number 6. In unit number 1, I named it as a advanced vapor compression cycle. In advanced vapor compression cycle, in unit number 1, we have a 4 lecture in which we can see, in first lecture we will see the review of vapor compression cycle. That means we will plot a background of this particular course. That means we will going to discuss what is vapor compression cycle, what is the Carnot cycle, what are the different types of vapor compression cycle, how it is going to be used. In second lecture we will see the transcritical cycle and their reticle treatment, what type of the substance or what type of the refrigerant is going to used in this particular cycle, or we will also see the what are the properties of that particular cycle. Talking about third point, that is ejector refrigeration cycle and their types. We will see how what is ejector refrigeration cycle and what are their types, how the vapor compression cycle is attached in a ejector refrigeration cycle. Although in all these cycles we have to cover the its presentation on pH and TS diagram. So that is important part, because after showing the cycle on pH and TS diagram one can easily know the properties of that particular cycle. Now talking about unit number 2. Unit number 2 consists the component wise description. That means unit number 2 is thermal design of refrigeration system components. Now talking about components, we have 5 components. Major components are the compressor, evaporator, condenser and expansion device. But in there is a cooling tower. Cooling tower is utilized in combination of condenser. As we know that condenser is a equipment where heat is rejected. Now the rejected heat is absorbed by a cooling tower and it is further rejected somewhere else. So that is we are going to see. In compressor we will see the characteristics curves of reciprocal and centrifugal compressor, sizing of reciprocating compressor, as well as we will also see what are the we will see the some numerical on sizing of reciprocating compressor. Okay, next is evaporator. Now in evaporator we will see what are the different types of evaporators, what are the standards and codes given by the ASHRAE for the evaporator. We will also see the performance analysis of dry expansion evaporator. Talking about condenser, we will see again the in condenser standard and codes of condenser. We will see the types of condenser. In types of condenser there are air cooled condenser, shell and tube condenser and evaporative condenser. So we will see all these condenser, how it works and what are the different criteria, what are the different size available in the market for the condenser, how these condenser are going to utilize and combined in our vapor compression cycle. Now talking about expansion device, in expansion device we will have to again see the standard codes for the expansion device, talk its operating characteristics of expansion device, liquid charge in a sensing bulb. Now that is important part, though we will see the how expansion device is working, what are the factor, what are the huntings of thermostatic expansion device. Talking about cooling tower, in cooling tower we are going to see in this our course types and design of cooling tower thermal performance and tower efficiency. That means what are the types of cooling tower and how the cooling tower is going to be designed, how the cooling tower thermal performance is calculated, and on the basis of efficiency, how you are going to calculate the efficiency of cooling tower. Next is unit number 3 consists the line which connect all those 4 uh, major component. That means from evaporator to compressor there is a line. So how that line is attached, that comes under refrigerant piping. So what is the refrigerant piping, what is copper tubing, principal design for a reciprocating refrigeration system, size of copper tube, refrigeration load and pressure drop, sizing procedure, suction line, discharge line, liquid line. These are the all thing that we are going to cover in refrigerant piping. That means the four major component is connected with a piping. That piping is covered in the refrigerant piping. Now talking about piping, after that there should be necessary for the capacity control. Now it is always mandatory to control the capacity of that particular system. Suppose if we require a capacity of 20 kilowatt and if we are going to install there the 40 kilowatt system, then there is no use. So to there should the students should know how to, what are the limitations and what are the criteria for set, what are the criteria to set the capacity control. Suppose if we have to set install a setup for a 10 kilowatt capacity control, what should be the size of evaporator, what should be the size of condenser, what should be the size of compressor or expansion device, how it could be selected so that the capacity should be at not more than a 10 kilowatt. Then after next is safety control. All the system is improper without safety control. There should be a safety control. If something happen wrong, there should be the system should be shut down. So that we are going to see in safety control. In safety control we will see the low pressure and high pressure control, low temperature control, frost control, oil pressure failure control, motor overload control. Now these are the things that we should be in limit. So if limit exceed from that part, the safety control should be activated or the system should be shut down. So that we are going to be see in safety control. Next is vapor compression system balance. The system balance is very important because there are four different unit. Now each unit have to uh, work in according that another component or another major part should work properly. Suppose if compressor deliver a refrigerant at a pressure of 50 bar and the component, that means a condenser, having a capacity to take a intake at only a 10 bar, then that is not a balance. So to make this balance between compressor and condenser, how these units should be installed and what are their performance characteristics. So we will see the performance characteristics of condensing unit. Now in condensing unit basically it contain compressor and condenser. The relationship between compressor and condenser, how we can that we are going to see. Next is the compressor capillary tube. That in this relation we will see the how the expansion device to be selected in relation with the compressor. So the relation between compressor and the condenser should be balanced. Coming to the unit number 4, in unit number 4 we will see ventilation and infiltration. Now in ventilation and infiltration, the first point is indoor design criteria and thermal comfort. Now indoor design criteria, in this we will see the what are the basic parameter, what are the factor affecting thermal comfort of human body, what are the comfort discomfort diagram provided by the ASHRAE, as well as we will see what is the indoor temperature, what is the effective indoor temperature, relative humidity, air velocity, what are these things that should be fitted for a human body. Now indoor air quality, next point is indoor air quality. Indoor air quality cover indoor air contaminants. That means what are the different contaminants available inside the space or room space, or how it should be removed, what should be the limited or permitted contaminant size. And then we will discuss about basic strategies to improve the indoor air quality. Talking about outdoor design condition, outdoor air requirement for the occupants, that we are going to discuss. The use of outdoor weather data in design, as well as we will discuss outdoor weather characteristics and their influence. Talking about ventilation for cooling, natural ventilation and mechanical ventilation, that we are going to discuss. And there are only two types of ventilation. One is natural ventilation and another is mechanical ventilation. We will see both of it. Next, topic is space air distribution. Now the air should be distributed uniformly inside the room. So how it could be achieved, that we are going to see in this particular point. So we will cover the design of air distribution system, types of air distribution device, air flow pattern, how air is flowing uh, inside the conditioned space. Then after we will see the cold air distribution, displacement flow, and etc. Talking about spot cooling and heating, we have this point in which we are going to cover selection of supply air outlet. What are the different supply air outlets? So these are the thing that is covered in ventilation and infiltration in unit number 4. Talking about unit number 5 cover the heat load estimation in building structure. Now it is very important to understand what are the total amount of heat inside the building, so that we can install sufficient capacity system, air conditioning system in that building. So before that we have to understand how to estimate the load. So for that we will cover in this unit solar radiation, heat gain through a fenestration, surface load characteristics, cooling load and coil load calculation. These are the things that we are going to cover. We will also see overall heat transfer coefficient, what is air space, what is soil air temperature. We will see a method known as a decrement factor on time lag method. This method is utilized to calculate the amount of heat that is transferred through a wall or fenestration. Second method is this second empirical method is cooling load temperature difference method, that is CLTD, or this is also known as equivalent temperature method, differential. So these are the two methods that we are going to discuss in this particular unit. Then after we will see what are the detailed calculation procedure for the CLTD method and what is the total heat balance. We will see some numericals, or we will see some case study in which we will know how the heat load is estimated inside a building. Talking about next point or the last point of this particular unit, we will see the energy efficient and cost effective measures for a building envelope, or the concept of ECBC. Now the concept of ECBC is the parameter that is provided by the government, or you can say air conditioning department, that should be followed while developing a building. So what we will see the norms, and what we will see what are the guidelines provided by the department, so that the building should be constructed in that way, so that there will be a minimum heat load for that particular building. So we will see in that point. Last point is unit number 6. In unit number 6 we will cover the advanced air conditioning system. Now in advanced air conditioning system we have two types things that we are going to discuss over there, that is desiccant based air conditioning system, and the second point is the heat pump system. Now desiccant based system, in desiccant based system we will see what is sorbent, what is the desiccants. Desiccant is nothing but a particle that absorb moisture from the flowing air, so having a high affinity towards moisture particles. Now we will see the dehumidification, we will see liquid spray tower, solid packed tower, rotary desiccant humidifier. These are the different types of the system that should be used in comparison, in addition to the vapor compression cycle. So that will that will make the capacity as well as decrease the energy consumption of that particular system. Talking about next point, we will see evaporative cooling air conditioning system. We will also see the thermal storage air conditioning system. What are the clean room air conditioning system? What is radiant cooling? These are the things that we are going to cover in this particular point. Talking about heat pump system, we will see what are the heat pump cycle, what are the different types of heat pump cycle. So if you learn earlier that heat pump cycle is also working on the vapor compression cycle or vapor absorption cycle, so that means these two cycles we are going to discuss in heat pump system. That means starting with vapor compression cycle, we will conclude with the vapor compression cycle. Okay. So talking about this particular session, in this session we see the course objective, we also see the course outcomes of this particular subject, or you can say course. Then after we also see the content of this course as a syllabus that we are going to cover in next 35 or 36 lecture. I hope you like the system. Thank you.